Hi there everybody, this is David, and today we're going to be looking back at the NES, my very first system that I ever got whenever I was a little kid, and we're going to be looking at the 10 best RPGs of all time for the system. That doesn't include just the ones here in the West, that includes the ones that were released in Japan, but then translated into English as well. So we're looking at a lot of RPGs here, and I definitely do think that's worth the sub as you come and join the party and you level on up with me. Thank you so much for your sub, your like, and your hype. It helps me out a ton. Now let's dive on into this great classic system. Number 10, Star Tropics. We're going to start this off with a game that I kind of got into late. By the time that Star Tropics was released in America, I was firmly entrenched in Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior goodness. I had no time or patience for what I saw as a Zelda clone, especially after I was so burned by Zelda 2. So I actually bought the game on the cheap after the SNES came out at a garage sale for like $5, because back then people saw NES games as old hat, and they wanted the next best thing. I'm glad that I did because while it's not exactly an RPG, it still suits me fine with its dungeon crawling, puzzle solving, and town exploration. But let's not talk about that letter that you have to soak in the water. I didn't get the instruction manual with my copy at the garage sale, so I had to go to Nintendo Power for that. Number 9, Glory of Hercules 2. It seems that a lot of games on this list weren't officially released in America, and then they wonder why RPGs never took off here. None of the good ones were released. Anyway, this is the second part in a long-running Japan-only series, and it's pretty much a Dragon Warrior 2 knockoff, but I really like it. Set in ancient Greece, you get a centaur, think the Prince of Cannock, and a living statue, the Princess of Moonbrook, who join you on your journey to save the world. There is a surprising amount of dialogue and character development for an NES game, and the graphics are quite decent too. There's also a lot of exploration and secrets to be found as well. It's just a shame that most people in America have never heard of this series, and if they have, it's because of that horrible DS game released a few years back. Number 8. Destiny of an Emperor. Here's another one that I got into late. In fact, after I posted the first NES Top 10 list, so many people asked about this game that I just had to try it out. I'd never played it before, and now I'm very glad that I have. Taking place in ancient China, the game looks and plays just like any other Dragon Quest game, except for the battles. You can recruit up to 5 generals, and instead of damaging their HP when you attack, you instead kill their soldiers. Also, instead of magic, you now have tactics to use, which do the same sort of things that spells would do. And as a quality of life improvement, there is an all-out command that essentially works as an auto battle. It's pretty cool, and if you're at all interested in this time period, do check it out. Number 7, Silva Saga. Here's another Japan-only game that I actually wrote a walkthrough for. Yeah, there was a time long ago before I ever thought of making a YouTube channel that I actually wrote a few walkthroughs for games that didn't have any. And Silva Saga deserves that guide. The music is upbeat and the movement rate is fast, like Lufia too fast. Also, the party system is really weird. You'll just be walking along and then all of a sudden some randoms out of nowhere will be like, "Can we join your party?" So of course you say yes, and then you leave your previous guys just on the side of the road. But it's so strange because it just doesn't matter at all. The new guys that join you are exact carbon copies of the old ones. It's like, why bother? But anyway, if you like old school goodness, you'll have a blast with this one. Number 6, Just Breed. Speaking of games that nobody in America has heard of, Just Breed is a strategy RPG by Enix. If you thought that RPGs were rare in America in the 80s and 90s, finding strategy RPGs was like trying to locate Shangri-La. Again, it wasn't released in America, but this is a real gem. The graphics are nice considering that it was released late in the NES life cycle, but what really sets it apart from other strategy RPGs released at the time like Fire Emblem is that you don't control single characters. You actually control entire squads of 6 characters each for a total of 36 characters, and you also actually get to explore towns and talk to characters in between those battles. You can buy full equipment sets for your armies rather than just weapons, and oddly enough, the main character does look mysteriously like the hero from Dragon Quest IV. Number 5, Earthbound Zero. When I first saw ads for Earthbound in Nintendo Power, I could not wait. But then nothing came of it. I forgot all about it until its SNES sequel was announced, which I bought immediately upon release, and I adored its quirky style. It wasn't until years later when I learned about emulation and then the ROM hacking and translating community that I found that I could play that lost game that I saw so many years ago in the magazine. As the first Mother game, it is a bit rough around the edges, being a dump of a prototype and all that, but unfortunately, it has all the trappings of an NES game made at the time, namely it's ungodly hard. You only have one party member for about half the game, and you pretty much have no direction on what to do or where to go, but it's still a good, solid, fun game with a unique art direction that isn't found in any other game on the NES. Nowadays, it is much easier to play, being as it's been officially released by Nintendo in the West. Number 4, The Guardian Legend. I love this game, and before you scream at me and say it's not an RPG, hear me out. Yeah, I agree, it starts off as a space shooter, but the real meat and core of the gameplay is not the shooting, but the exploration. You get currency, buy weapons and items, gain experience in levels, and explore, all the things that you would do in a normal RPG. If you're unfamiliar with this game, basically it's almost like 2-in-1. You alternate between space shooter sections where you're flying from one planet to another, and then when you land, you get to explore the planet on foot. It's kind of like Blast or Master whenever you're exploring in your tank in the side view perspective, but then you get out and you fight alone in an overhead view. I can't believe that this game has never been remade or expanded upon. The only thing that I can think of that's remotely close to it is Sigma Star Saga for the DS. Number 3, Crystalis. When I was a kid, I would constantly scour the pages of Nintendo Power looking for anything that I might like, and then add it to the list of games that I wanted to try out or buy. I kept reading article after article in Nintendo Power about Crystalis, and every time that I saw it, I wanted it more and more. And the reason why I kept on seeing articles about it? Probably because the game is infamously difficult. It is ridiculous. But as an action RPG, before I really knew what that was, I just had to play it. But I couldn't find it in any stores except for the rental store, Video Wonderland. So of course I rented it and I played it all weekend, and I asked my mother if we could just keep it and not return it. I was 8 years old, so sue me. She said no, but when she went to return it, she asked if she could buy it. They told her no, so she just rented it again. I kept it and I continued to play it, so she went back when I was at school one day and she told them that I lost the game. She paid the $40 for it, and the rest is history. Number 2, the NES Final Fantasy games. It's kind of funny. If you look at these 3 games, they all have the exact same graphics. Something like that would never fly nowadays. They'd have to change something up. As a kid, I only played the first one because it was the only one released here, and I loved it. I would have to wait quite a bit of time for the second and third games to get translated, but once they were, I got a diamond and a lump of coal. The third game is pretty neat. It's almost like the prototype of Final Fantasy V with its free class-changing system, while the second game, which never even made my first top 10 list, is more of a prototype for the Saga series. And while they're all good games, 1 and 3 are heads and shoulders above 2. And number 1, the Dragon Warrior series. The 4 games on the NES just can't be beat. There's a reason why so many other games copied these. It's because they're fantastic, especially the third entry. While the first entry is the definition of basic, it set the genre standard for every single JRPG to follow. The second game is sometimes called the black sheep of the series because it is so difficult, but it's still a very fun game, introducing many series staples such as multiple party members, different types of keys to open up doors, ships to travel the world, and a non-linear adventure. The third has a robust class system, rewarding side quests, great treasures to find, a cool Earth-based world map, and an open world full of different areas to explore at your own pace. Dragon Warrior 4 calmed down the non-linearity a bit by introducing a chapter system and having the AI control your party in Chapter 5. However, it was a start of a whole new trilogy and adventure. No NES collection is complete without having these 4 games. Well, that's it for the new updated top 10 list. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments, and have a good day.